Finally.
We figured it out. All right.
Terrible millennials.
Well, let's go ahead and get this started. First and foremost, I'm excited to be having a conversation with you. How you doing?
I'm excited. Yeah, today was wild, but we're here. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much for the invitation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, for everybody who is tuning in right now, hello, my name is Mr. Leslie. I am a preschool director, advocate, early educator, all the above. And so happy to be having a conversation tonight with Jamesa Bailey. So thank you so much for being here with me. Now, Jamesa, I know you to be a mom and also founder of Sweet Sleep Co. But if you can do me a favor and just introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about you, who you are, and even something about your company.
Yeah. So like you said, I'm a mom, a wife, HBCU graduate. It's actually how Leslie and I know each other. And yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I have been in business as an infant and toddler sleep coach as my part-time job for about almost 5 years now, which is crazy.
Wow.
More recently, I am the mom of an upcoming kindergartner and also an 18-month old who just started daycare 3 weeks ago.
Oh my goodness. So you had a lot going on. I know must have been busy, a busy last couple of months for you, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Lots of things happening.
I love it. I love it. And like you did mention too, we do go way back and have the HBCU connection. For everyone out there, Jamisa and I have a very awesome connection where I
Yeah.
knew her from way back in our collegiate days from student leadership and
Yep.
being a part of all the different conferences and whatnot. And it's just so great to be able to see you now growing in your career and as a mom and just seeing you thriving. So
I
kudos to you
love
for all the great
that.
things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about you.
For sure. Yeah. Now, Jamisa, I do have a couple questions that I want to
Mhm.
go ahead and get started with today because we did briefly discuss the fact that you do have two very young children. One, your daughter just started within childcare, and your son is getting ready to go off to kindergarten. And
Yeah.
as soon as I saw you posting about that awesome part within your journey, I was like, we really need to have an opportunity to have this conversation on camera because there are so many different families that are encountering the same situation and navigating the journey. And I'm just sure that there's so many different gems that you can bring to us this evening. So let's just go
Yeah.
ahead and take it back to square one. So when you realized that your daughter was going to need to get started within childcare, where were you within that place with your family in the discussion? How did you get to that point?
Yeah, I was run down. I am very grateful to have a full-time job where I still work from home. And so for the first 17 months of her life, she was home with me while I was working.
Mm,
And it was very different from with my oldest, who is 5 now. We actually had him during the pandemic. And so my husband and I were home. And so it
mm,
was a lot easier to kind of, swap during meetings and things like that.
mm,
And so we decided with him that we like wanted him to be 18 months, when he started daycare, but the world just looked totally different back then.
mm,
And so with my daughter, it just started becoming a little bit unsustainable to continue to
mm.
work from home with her because my daughter is attachment Barbie. She thinks we're supposed to hug all day, right? And mommy can't hug all day and do work. And so like many families, we were faced with a choice of like, all right, Camden, yes, he graduated, from pre-K, but he was still in a summer program. And sending two children to daycare at the same time
It's
it's a lot of
expensive.
money, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
is
It's expensive.
literally more, than a mortgage for us. And so I held out as long as I could. And I'll talk about it a little bit later, what ended up happening and working out. But the goal was for her to start in August once Camden started kindergarten because we
Mm-hmm.
no longer would have to pay daycare for both of them.
This time around in going into a childcare center, were you nervous? What was the difference in the feelings that you had in comparison to your first child?
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very nervous with Camden. I remember his first day, I cried.
Yeah.
I am, because Corinne and I spend so much time together, just us. it
Hmm.
was a little bit more difficult for me this time, to be
Okay.
honest with you. But it was very needed, right? Because, like I said, I
Hmm.
was kind of wind down. I was doing my full time job, my part time job, being home with her all day. But I think the thing that helped me was I know how much Camden grew being
Hmm.
around other children, being in a structured setting. And that was one of the things that I kind of struggle with as a mom, right? Like, I'm at home working, I can't really dedicate the time to like teach
Yeah.
her or like take her out. Also, just remembering how much Camden blossomed, it made it a
Hmm.
lot easier for me with Corinne. Now, this time, because, Camden has been in four different daycare settings, some were awesome, some were horrible. And
Oh
so I
wow.
felt like I was just kind of like a veteran when it came to like choosing a childcare provider in a space where I felt that she would be, loved and cared for, and where she could really grow and learn.
Yeah, I mean, and tell me about that. So, like, what kind of things were you looking for when it came to finding a childcare center that really was a good fit for you and your family?
Yeah, so first and foremost, if they didn't have an age appropriate nap schedule, they got
Hmm.
turned off the list.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, so, I'm a sleep consultant, right? And
Hmm.
so, I saw, daycare centers who had like a 3 hour nap, which is insane, right? For you to send your
Hmm.
child to daycare and they nap for 3 hours. But Corinne naps from 1 to 3. And so I was not going to send her anywhere that didn't have an age appropriate nap schedule. So a lot of
Hmm.
daycare providers, even back when I think about when Camden started his journey, a lot of them were crossed off the list because they just didn't have an age appropriate schedule. I
Hmm.
also really looked at I needed to see overall schedule, right? Like, how much
Hmm.
time do they spend learning? Do they spend time outside? And I also, was thinking about the most bang for my buck, right? So the
Hmm.
place that she's at now, thank God, it's one inclusive price for diapers, pull-ups, meals, kind of all the things. That hasn't always been our, story.
Hmm.
The first couple of places that Camden went, we had to send his lunch. And honestly, like his last place that he's currently at until Friday, lunch was included. And it was just
Hmm.
so much easier for us to just kind of get them out the door and not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So when choosing for Corinne this time, I was like, wow, I really would like to go someplace where meals are included so we don't
Hmm.
have to go backwards. I also looked at class sizes, right? Like, so they both started at home daycares. That really was not the plan. Our plan
Hmm.
was for Corinne to go to Camden's current school. So, even though it was inclusive of meals and things like that, it just wasn't going to work. And so,
Hmm.
I also looked at the curriculum, right? Like, what type of curriculum do they practice, outside of the summer? Right now, the kids are doing a lot of playing and, summertime activities. But when the school year started, I really wanted to make sure that she was at a place where like they had actual curriculum that they were following.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I love how. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say the last thing is vibes, right? Like, as I'm meeting these daycare teachers, I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
I really feel that I personally, and as a mom, as a woman, like, I have a good sense of discernment. And so I have
Hmm.
been in some spaces with daycare providers, just kind
Hmm.
of filling them out, and I didn't really get the best vibe. And so I
Hmm.
also wanted a place because, like, you're gonna have my child more than me, during the
Right.
day. And like, yeah, I didn't, we don't, there isn't a live camera where I can see what she's doing all the time. So I have to be able to get good vibes to be able to grow, to learn, to trust you with literally my heart outside of my body.
Oh, very much so. I mean, you talked about a lot of really great things to look out for when it comes to a childcare center. And so often within this experience, families are confused about what to look for. And I feel like they can be overwhelmed by the fact that the price in itself is such a conversation around what our childcare options are going to be. So then
Yeah.
once they get past that hump itself, it's also taking a look at what the routines are going to be.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good sleep schedule and a good routine for the children go out their day, how is that going to affect your family balance and your routine in the evening time? So all really important things to consider when it comes to your childcare journey. So for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me this, was there anything that you had to do specifically when it came to getting your daughter ready for childcare? Because I know you told me that she's super attached to you and you guys have a
Yeah.
really strong bond. So how did you get her ready for her first day in childcare?
So I believe that, so she's 18 months now. And so, we're kind of in the middle of a language explosion.
Mm,
And I really believe, just from working with children, even, with sleep consultant, that our babies actually understand a lot more than we give them credit for. And so we
hmm
did a lot of modeling with her. I also, before she officially started, I asked the daycare provider to let her come for 2 hours, because I
hmm
didn't want to drop her off in a foreign place for the first time. And
That's a great
so
idea.
she went for 2 hours the first day. It was so crazy because I was like, bye, Corinne. She didn't even say like bye to me. I was like, oh, like I felt some type of way. I was like, I thought she was gonna be crying. And here I am
Uh-huh.
like holding back tears. But that was just fake because when she officially started, unfortunately, she's still crying during
hmm
drop off. But we did a lot of over communication, like, mommy, she also is experiencing some separation anxiety right now. And
hmm
so I also like finished breastfeeding her right before she started school. So many different changes. But one of the things that I say to her every morning is, mommy always comes back for Corinne. Mommy
That's
always comes
great.
back for Corinne. Mommy loves Corinne. Mommy always comes back. Always, I try to like show her videos from her, having fun at daycare before. That was another thing. I need to know what my kids are doing. So
Yeah.
if your daycare does not have some type of system where you're uploading like diaper changes or photos or videos, that's not personally for me. I am very
Yeah.
much a type A mom. Some people call it helicopter mom. I need to know what my kids are doing.
Yeah.
And so I showed her videos of her having fun. I try to do it
hmm
every day just to kind of build up, like, oh, this is so fun that you did this.
hmm
And just again, just reiterated that mommy always comes back for her. Her
hmm
daycare teacher and her had like a little thing where they're like, I'm a big girl, I'm a big girl.
Yeah.
Because at daycare, she wants to be held. And unfortunately, daycare provider has, 8 children, so she can't hold Corinne all day.
hmm
And so, even just kind of repeating those mantras and just kind of modeling some of that at home too.
That's one of the things we always encourage our families to do whenever we have a child that is getting started for the first time. What is going to be that consistent mantra that you share with them before you
Yeah,
leave? What is the reassurance that you're going to give to them? I love the fact that you're telling her, Corinne, mom is always going to come back to you,
yeah,
because it lets her know and gives her something to think about throughout the day, that mommy might have left me here, but it's what I need at the moment, and she's always going to come
absolutely.
back. So I just think that that consistent reassurance is always really awesome. So yeah, kudos to you for that.
I'm
Uh,
trying.
yeah. Was there anything that the center did in order to help you also get ready? Because what I often experience is, for a lot of families, especially if the child is having an attachment to mom and it's kind of a difficult parting ways and saying goodbye to them, sometimes we have to come up with those strategies with the parent to say, all right, when I give you that look, you go ahead and you pass her off to me, or whatever the consistency routine is going to be. Was there anything that the teachers or even the administrators help you to get her oriented into the school?
Um, I'm trying to think. I do know that she asked me for a photo of our family before she started. They have like a
hmm
little wall kind of in the daycare where they have
hmm
everybody's family, and so
That's
I guess
great.
that provides some type of comfort or something, for her to see
hmm
our faces. Yeah, we come in, we wash her hands, we change her
hmm
shoes. That was another thing that I really like. Like she is very, daycare is a cesspool for germs. These kids
Yeah.
gonna always be sick at daycare.
It's
And I
always
do feel
something.
it's always something. She literally was just sick last week. I'm like, girl, you didn't even make it 2 weeks. But when we come in, we like take our outside shoes off. She has shoes that she like only wears at the daycare.
hmm
We come in, we wash her hands, and then I kind of just pass her off.
hmm
But yeah, outside of that, nothing really. She starts her I'm a big girl, and we say I love you and bye bye.
hmm
One thing that and this is again from my experience as a sleep consultant, I never sneak out, right? I
hmm
always let Corinne see me leave,
Yeah.
because I don't want to, create any trauma or anything like that. Like she always sees me leave, and again, I'm saying, mommy always comes back, because
hmm
sometimes, especially when our babies are experiencing separation anxiety, sneaking out can actually do more damage than not, or not
Right.
communicating to them. But yeah, and I also think, my daycare provider, she's very like some days, especially after the weekend, I noticed that Corinne is a lot more. whimpery
Mhm.
because she kind of had some time at home, and she like, girl, not this thing again. Why are you
Yeah.
sending me here again? And so on those days, she won't send me as many videos. And she's like, and so I'm like, well, where are the videos? She's like, she's kind of whimpery the whole day. And I don't want to send you videos like that to cause you to worry. And
Hmm.
so, I feel like, she's a really good partner, and,
Hmm.
making sure that she, acclimates to the new things. And then also just like making sure that I, am calm and not worried. And like,
Yeah.
cause I'll go pick her up immediately.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's such a great relationship to have with your childcare provider, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even her having that insight to say, okay, I don't want to worry her, and I,
Yeah.
I want you to be, in a consistent space of just reassurance throughout the day. I think that that's really great and necessary when it comes to a partnership between the family and the educator within the classroom. So that's a
Oh,
really
yeah,
fantastic thing to have. Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
let's shift a little bit towards kindergarten because
Yeah.
is Camden has he started kindergarten yet, or he's getting ready to start kindergarten?
He starts on the 25th.
Wow. Okay. So how do you feel? Do you think you're gonna cry? Is he nervous? How's it going right now?
Oh my gosh, I am a mess. I most nights I'm looking at videos of him as a baby and I'm wondering
Hmm.
how the heck we got here so fast.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
excited. He's excited. His school has several touch points. So we just went to like a transition meeting last week for 2 hours, well, an hour and a
Hmm.
half. So he was able to see his teacher and meet his principal, and they kind of like go over all the things that the
Hmm.
kindergarten parents need to know. One
Hmm.
of my biggest things is he's going to be taking a school bus. And I was like, well, how are they going to know that he's like a kindergartner? And they're like, it's okay, mom.
Yeah.
Like we have them wear like special vests, to identify them as kindergartners and things like that. But yeah, he's excited. He's actually going to a language school, so he's going to be learning another language.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, yeah. So we practice listening to the songs, and
Hmm.
we say little phrases and things like that. So he's really excited. He's also very excited about recess,
Okay.
because he loves outside, and so he's really excited about recess.
That is so cool. So do you feel prepared then?
um, no. And I'll get there, right? Like I
Hmm.
think about, it's been a very difficult uh spring summer. There have been a lot of changes for me as a mom. Camden
Hmm.
graduated from preschool. He lost his first tooth. I ended my
Hmm.
breastfeeding journey with Corinne. I left them for the first time. I went out of town for
Hmm.
work. She started daycare, he's starting kindergarten. And so, even when I think about the question you just asked me, like, I don't think I'm necessarily ready, but I'm doing it, right? Like it's
Hmm.
happening. It's a part of life. He is a great kid. I know everybody says that their kids are great, but Camden is very
Hmm.
he's a great kid. He's really smart. He's, funny. He's so witty. So I'm excited for him to learn even more. I'm excited about the doors that learning another language at 5 years
Hmm.
old is going to open for him.
Yeah.
So as sad as I am that my baby is, getting older and growing up, I'm just really excited about the opportunities that he's about to unlock.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a really awesome experience, and just the fact that you all are able to even put him in like a language immersion program, it's going to open up, like you said, so many different
Yeah,
opportunities for him, and I think that's incredible. Um, what I want to also talk about is you mentioned how smart of a child he is and how
yeah.
witty he is. When you think about the term kindergarten readiness, what does that mean to you as a parent, and do you feel like his previous experience in childcare has gotten him ready for kindergarten?
Yeah. So I kind of break it down into three categories, right? So first is like social and emotional learning. Like, is
Mhm.
he emotionally intelligent enough for kindergarten, right? At 5, right? As much as he can be. Like, does he share? Does he play well with
Mhm.
others? Like, is he used to, sitting still or having like structure and
Mhm.
routines? The second is like actual like academics. Camden is extremely smart. He's reading, right? Like he
Mhm.
can read books. His school that he's in is excellent. The some of the things that they learn, I'm like, I know that like adults don't even know the
Mhm.
stuff that y'all are learning. And
Yeah.
then the third would be just like readiness, or not readiness, but what how could I like self-help, right? Like, can he tie
Hmm.
his shoes? We spent this summer, like his dad and him spent this summer like learning how to tie his shoes.
Hmm.
He, knows how to put his own jacket on. He knows how to get himself dressed. Like,
Hmm.
he can go to the bathroom himself, obviously. It's just certain things that he knows how to hold a pencil, he knows how to do scissors, like kind of all the things that you want to see before kindergarten, he's
Yeah.
doing it. And so I have
Yeah.
no doubt that he is ready. Now, is mommy ready is the question. But I think that particularly these last two, so his third daycare was his home. It was a home daycare. She was fantastic. She taught Camden so much. I mean,
Hmm.
she potty trained him pretty much.
Hmm.
We just had to like implement it at home. She taught him how to write letters without tracing. They would have like those little etch a sketches and they would just be writing their names.
Yeah.
She literally taught him. Camden knows all of the presidents up until
Hmm.
Obama. Like, he knows
What?
in order.
Oh,
Yes.
Camdy, he's smarter than I am because I can't even name all the presidents. So
Listen, he was literally in the tub one day singing a song, and me and Dustin looked at each other like, "Is he naming the president?" And we were like, "Thank God that they stopped at Obama, because he got some feelings about Trump." But yeah. And then the school that he's currently at, they just took the academics to the next level. Like, I
yeah.
mean, those children are so smart. Camden
Hmm.
will read sometimes, and so he's reading like the front of the book with the title. And he goes, and I was like, "Oh, you can skip that word." He goes, "Illustrated by." I'm like,
Come on, Camden, come on.
and then we're about to hit another hurdle, right? Because he can't read in another language. So, it'll
uh,
kind of be like new for him. But I was literally talking to one of my mom friends, and I said, I'm actually glad that he is going to be challenged in a new language, because it is a really big possibility that Camden is going to know a lot of the stuff that you spend the first couple months of kindergarten learning. Like,
yeah.
and so I would, and he's a very active boy, right? And when
Hmm.
he's bored, you know it. And so I
Hmm.
think that, just having the opportunity of going to a language immersion program is good for him to be able to keep him on his toes.
Yeah.
Whereas like the other kids may, because some kids don't go to daycare or preschool before kindergarten. That's kind of their
Hmm.
first introduction to a
Hmm.
structured school setting.
And you can tell
But
the
I,
difference.
oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
sure. But absolutely, it helped us for sure. And I
Hmm.
think that he's going to adjust really great. He's a routine boy. So, like,
Hmm.
once he learns the routine, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, well, shout out to his teachers that have helped him get him ready. Because
Yeah.
whenever we have the conversation around kindergarten readiness, I always feel like the first thing parents think of is, well, can my child count to 50, or does
Mm,
my child know all the letters? But yes, getting ready for kindergarten is knowing those different concepts, but it's also, can you voice how you're feeling? Are you
yeah.
able to make friends with other people and to be able to develop relationships? I think you even mentioned about like potty training. Ever
Yeah.
since COVID, standards have changed in so many different states where a part of kindergarten readiness now is, are you potty trained? Whereas before it
Mm,
wasn't even a topic of conversation. So we're looking at how times have changed so much in terms of children's development.
yeah.
But I just love the fact that you all have been able to prepare him in such a well-rounded way. And it just, I know he's going to be successful. So, I mean,
Yeah.
clearly his parents are successful. You guys are
Oh,
setting him up for
thank you.
success already. So that's really great to hear. Um, so let me ask you this then. What surprised you the most about your parenting journey from the start of childcare to kindergarten for both your children?
I'm 5 years in this thing, and I'm still like, I'm responsible. I'm like really somebody's mom. It truly just like, it's still, my flabbers are still gasket.
Do you feel like
For
a big
sure.
kid too? Like, do you
I
still feel like you're in
do.
college? It's
Yes.
like,
I mean, honestly, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I just turned 35. And it's so funny because like when I think about, like, I have my aunt, my oldest aunt, and I feel like she kind of like a hot girl. And she's in her 60s, but she still has like
mhm.
this vibrancy. And I always would like joke, like, "Girl, you are older. You need to go." I see why it happens because the age just keeps
Mm-hmm.
creeping up, but you don't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like I've been responsible for somebody, for 5 years
Mm-hmm.
now. But I think the thing that has surprised me is just honestly how fast it all goes. It just
Yeah.
I always tell like new parents that you never realize how fast time flies until you have little people.
Mm-hmm.
So like in my mind, I still had another couple years until we got to kindergarten, and
Mm-hmm.
even with Corinne, she's closer to two than she is to one now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that has surprised me. Also, just how many options there are. So with Camden, I
Mm-hmm.
know you didn't touch on this, but with Camden, we didn't want him to go to the neighborhood school, and so we
Mm-hmm.
ended up doing the county lottery. And he got into 6 of the 11 schools that we applied for. And so even just like doing all of the research to like make sure that we chose the right school for him, it was just like all these decisions like, dang, I'm really responsible for this boy, and like this
Mm-hmm.
decision can alter the rest of his life.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And he's just going to
thankfully,
kindergarten. Now you making like adult decisions for him. That's crazy.
that's what I'm saying. But I
Mm-hmm.
think about, because the school that he's going to goes all the way up to eighth grade. So
Mm-hmm.
that he's going to be there for a big chunk of his young life. And that was a
Mm-hmm.
big decision that we had to end up making. Luckily,
Yeah.
I have a lot of mom friends. I am in a lot of Facebook groups. And so they were able to give us some really solid advice when it came to, choosing the right school. But it was a big deal.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, I could totally see that. So let's move to the part where we start giving some advice to our parents who are about to go through this journey themselves, right? So I'm gonna ask you to fill in the blank for the next several statements, okay?
Okay.
So for starters, Jamisa, for the parent that is getting ready to start childcare, what's one thing that you would tell them?
Your child is more resilient than you think.
Mm, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Was that a lesson you had to learn on your own?
Yeah, I think so, because honestly, we're in our own way and we're in our
Hmm.
kids' way, to be honest, because we always like we think we know their limits and their like, limitations and what they can't do
Hmm.
and what they can. And I feel like these little people, they just really surprise us so much. And
Hmm.
my motto is you get used to what you're introduced to.
Very
And
much so.
your child will very much adapt to their new environment.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like it's funny because that's the exact reason why I love this field so much. Because you can go into a classroom with all these little people around you, and if you give them limitations, they're gonna operate within those limitations.
Yeah,
But if you give them the world and tell them they can do anything they want to, and let them use their imagination, it's endless what kind of possibilities they can make happen within that day. So I just feel like there's so much opportunity just to get back to believing in yourself and
yes,
believing in what you really can be capable of. And she'll just remind you of that all the time. I just love it so
absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So for the parent who's preparing for kindergarten, what's one thing that they should start doing now?
Oh gosh. Mm, I would say just conversations,
Hmm.
overly communicating, especially if they're going from like a daycare, setting to, I can't speak on, if they were coming straight from home to a daycare setting, to kindergarten, but I think just like having a lot of conversations about like what will be the
Hmm.
same, what will be different, and like find a way to connect with your child. I'm really big
Hmm.
on like connection and like, what is something that you're looking forward to, or what's something that you think, that you may have challenges with, and like even sharing my
Hmm.
story. I still remember my kindergarten teacher. Her name was Miss
Yeah.
Parker. She was fantastic, and I told Camden about the story about how mom, these days.
Hmm.
But we just share stories about, us going to kindergarten and what our experience was like.
Hmm.
So yeah, just a lot of connection and communication. And,
Hmm.
I really like repeat backs with children at this young
Hmm.
age. Like, I think a lot of times, most of the, my grandparents raised me. So they would do a lot of, do you understand me? And I would just kind of say yes. But with Camden and Corinne, not so much Corinne because she's just starting to talk. But with Camden, I do a lot of, what did you hear mommy say? so
Hmm.
that he can, so I one, make sure that he understood, and then two, like that he can regurgitate it. And so I do
Hmm.
a lot of like, what are you looking forward to for school, or what's
Hmm.
something that you or even I'll tell him, like, you have to call your teacher like Madam Santos, right?
Hmm.
And so I'll be like, Camden, like, what's your teacher's name? So just trying to get him as used to this is the biggest thing, the iPad, right? So like he
Yeah.
gets up in the morning, we have a lot of time before we have to be at daycare. Cam is gonna have to like wake up and get straight on, get straight dressed on the bus. And so,
Hmm.
a week leading up to, we're gonna start to be in a routine, right? Like, hey, when you
Hmm.
get up, we're gonna get straight dressed, we're gonna eat breakfast, we're gonna get on the bus. So even like some routine changes the week or 2 weeks before will be really helpful,
Yeah.
especially if your kid is very routine driven like mine. And I don't
Hmm.
want to be putting something new on him the first day of school and then we all end up late.
Right, right. And you know what? I always encourage families to have the same level of consideration towards a child that you would want someone to have towards yourself. Like,
Mm.
I'm not gonna want to wake up tomorrow and be told that, okay, I have to go work in a completely different location,
Yeah,
or now
yeah,
you have to go drive 2 hours to wherever you gotta go, right? So instead it's a matter of getting them ready, like you said, having those routines, having those conversations with them, being able to create space where you can acknowledge their feelings and any
yeah,
reservations that they might have, and just supporting them through the process. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Kindergarten is a really big deal. So we want to make sure we do take care of that precious point in time.
for
Um,
sure.
and then my last question for you is, for the parent who's anxious, what would you tell them?
Well, listen, I'm gonna encourage you while I encourage myself, because I also am very anxious. For me, my biggest thing is that I never want anybody to like mistreat my children, right? Like
Hmm.
I think that if I could wrap them in the bubble and they never like experience, heartache or like a friendship breakup, I think I would do it. But
Hmm.
then I also think about how that stuff like builds character, and it
Yeah.
adds to your journey, right? Like everybody isn't your friend. It's okay if people don't want to be your friend, things like that. So I would just say, like, for an anxious parent, and again, I'm telling myself this, like, you have to trust that you're doing a good job, right? You're doing
Hmm.
a good job. You're laying the foundation for your child. Most of the time, especially at this age, they won't stray too far. But at this age, just feeling confident that you have done a good job laying a good foundation, that
Hmm.
your child will be okay. And just keeping the communication open, right? So, like,
Yeah.
that's another reason why I love that the school, kind of lets us know what they're doing. So, like, Camden's kind of at that age where we're like, well, how was school? He's like, fine. I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, I don't know. So I kind of go on the app and be like, oh, I saw that y'all learned about snakes today. Like, tell me something about
Yeah.
that. And, show him that I'm invested. So yeah, so I would just say, to any anxious parent, they got this, and so do you.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and also I'm gonna add on to it that it's okay that you don't have the answers to everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like every single day I have conversations with my mom, and she's always said things like, I didn't have a manual for how to be a mom, and
yeah.
I always heard her, but it's not until I became an adult and started working with more and more families where I'm like, there really is no manual
No,
on how to be a parent, and you're
no,
gonna make some mistakes, and you're gonna do some things great, and your child might tell you that they hate you one day, and they might tell you they love you the next day. But at the end of the day, as long as you're doing what's best for your child and for your family, you're gonna be on the right path, and it's gonna be all right. So yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, yes. You gotta trust the journey.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jamisa, I appreciate you, and I
Yeah,
don't want to keep you too long because I know you got to get back to your family. But I definitely want to say thank you for taking time this evening just to jump on and have this conversation with me. And I'm really optimistic and hopeful that the people who had a chance to tune in were able to learn something and just walk away with a gem that's going to help their parenting journey. So thank you so much for
absolutely.
just being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
All right, cool. Well, you have a good night, Jamisa. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thanks. Bye.